Good Saturday morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, we're looking at the challenges of starting the new school year. As the COVID-19 pandemic rages on, there is a push now to reopen schools across the nation. But health leaders say the state continues to see high numbers of coronavirus cases in Alabama, and schools must take precautions to try to stop the spread of the illness. Alabama is under a state mandate requiring people in public to wear face coverings, and that includes most school-aged children as well. The first school to open in our area will be within the next week on August the 6th. Superintendents and staff members of each school system have been working around the clock to come up with a game plan. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, says that while it's important to consider the full spectrum of risk and benefits, children seem to thrive in an in-person learning environment.
The CDC guidelines, as well as American Academy of Pediatrics, have brought up very good points where there's a lot of benefits to reopening schools for learning, for psychological health, for nutrition, many things with child development.
According to the nation's top public health agency, COVID-19, though, poses relatively low risk to school-aged children. As of July 17th, people under 18 years of age counted for less than 7% of all cases and less than 0.1% of all deaths. The CDC's advice comes with guidance and recommendations, including temperature checks and provisions for school trips and lunches. Health officials also encourage the practice of cohorting, where the same group of students and staff are kept together throughout the day.
It's much easier to control any spread or outbreak if you know who a given positive person has been in contact with.
The CDC says, though, this is just a guide to reopening. It warns reopening should be tailored to each region. Now, for instance, if a school is located where COVID-19 cases are on the rise, the risk of reopening might outweigh the benefits. The plan for many school systems during this new COVID community is to have the best of both worlds. In general, parents can choose between sending their children back to the classroom or enroll in virtual school. Mobile County is giving parents those same options, but has decided right now to delay its start of school to September the 1st and do remote learning for at least the first 9 weeks. Superintendent Cressel Threadgill says that there's a big difference between remote learning and virtual school.
Virtual is when the kids basically go on their own, they log in, is at their own pace. Remote is more structured, the teacher-driven kind of facilitate. They actually see the teacher through videoing.
Most other local school systems plan to hold in-classroom learning from the start. In Baldwin County, the plan is to open school on August the 12th. For parents not comfortable sending their children back to regular school, there is a virtual school option for K through 12 and time to see if it's right for their child.
We have two great options, Hal. I mean, that's why we've given flexibility when a family explores virtual school and they've never done it before. We give that flexibility until the last day of August to determine whether they stay or come out.
Baldwin County will have a virtual elementary and a virtual middle/high school. There will be a base site in Daphne, and while students have flexibility, the test will be online and in person with a proctor or monitor taking assessments. We are counting down to the start of school, with Saraland City Schools starting back the earliest on Thursday, August the 6th. Several school systems are having some soft reopenings, bringing the groups of students back for a day or two before allowing all students back together. For a breakdown of all of the school start dates and more, just head to our website, fox10tv.com. Click on the Back to School Authority tab there on our homepage. You'll find all of our school-related stories, along with links to help you get your children prepared for the upcoming school year. Joining us today on Perspectives to share about their school's systems plan to open for the 2020-2021 school year during this coronavirus pandemic, Baldwin County Schools Superintendent Eddie Tyler and Saraland City Schools Superintendent Dr. Aaron Milner. When Perspectives continues, we will talk first with Superintendent Eddie Tyler. We'll be right back after this break. Speaking now with Superintendent Eddie Tyler of the Baldwin County Schools. And Superintendent Tyler, welcome to the program today.
Well, thank you.
We want to talk about the plans to restart school in August. In fact, your August 12th is the date for resuming the kids coming back to school in Baldwin County. Give us an idea of how you feel right now about this, considering what's going on in our community.
Well, Eric, in light of everything that is going on every day and continues to change, I feel good about our upcoming August 12th date. Our board right now has given me no indication that that is something that they are apprehensive about. We will be having a board meeting Thursday night, our monthly work session board meeting. I'm going to discuss a few things with the board about opening schools and get further thought from them. But right now we feel very good.
Give us an idea of the plan that's in place for the moment as we're looking right now in July compared to a few weeks before August 12th. What is the plan being offered now to the parents and the children?
Well, right now, just like you mentioned, things are changing constantly. We have really basically right at 3 weeks before we welcome students, 2 weeks before we welcome employees. Right now, we have offered two options for parents. One is our K-12 virtual school setup, and the other is our traditional brick and mortar. We're seeing a lot of interest in both, but especially our virtual school elementary and our virtual school 7-12 high school.
The virtual school itself, how does that work for parents who are still wondering exactly what their involvement will be, because is there a need for them to be involved in that process?
Well, there is. They would need to go to our website and they would look for baldwinvirtual.com. When they click that walks them through the process that they would go through for applying for our virtual school. It's very seamless, it's easy, but the virtual school process is a very rigorous curriculum. I mean, our 7-12 curriculum it aligns with the state. We can add our own rigor as a county. That basically is accessed through Troy. But we've been doing virtual education for over a decade in Baldwin County, and our virtual school, high school, received the best grade of any virtual school throughout the state of Alabama. So we're very proud of that. Right now our numbers are exploding. We've probably got about 10% or a little over of enrollment in our K-12 virtual program. What that's going to allow is hopefully for principals at various schools to do a little bit more social distancing. We don't know to what degree, but with the population that's coming in to virtual, we're probably right now almost at 2,500 students, and it's split just about 50-50 between K-6 and 7-12.
So as you look at that particular program, are you willing to extend that through the whole school year, depending on what happens with the virus as it runs through our communities now?
Oh, absolutely. This is not a one shot. We're establishing, we've already got a cost center with our grades 7 through 12. Our virtual school is a cost center. We earn foundation units from the state every year. Our elementary K-6, right now, we expect it to be long term. I think this is going to be something that our parents, once they get into it, are going to feel comfortable with if they have the ability to manage the virtual school with their children at home, and but that's left up to the families.
What about for the special needs kids? Does this work for them as well? Because that's in some previous understanding, that's more of a hands-on type of operation for those teachers.
Absolutely. We're looking at all aspects. We have all aspects involved in our virtual school: 504, ESL, students with an IEP under IDEA. So our virtual school option for special needs children will be able to manage what's needed for those children. And basically, those special needs children will stay in touch with our special education coordinator and her staff as we do what we can to serve those students.
As we look at these numbers now, we see that Baldwin County is peaking, and you're also, it's very interesting how you're surrounded on both sides by two counties that are really having some incredible numbers right now. Mobile County to your west, and of course is Escambia County, Florida, and you've got your residents going back and forth to these places. If these numbers continue to spike like they are right now in Baldwin County, do you see some major changes taking place between now and August, or what do you feel is going to happen right now?
Well, Eric, we're in constant touch with the State Health Department, with Dr. Mackey, with the State Department of Education, and with Governor Ivey. We listen to her directive all the time, and I'm sure that based on what they might be seeing, they would give direction and guidance. But right now, we're operating under her mandatory mask for anyone, and that includes our students that come to schools. And we've mentioned to parents before, that when your student comes to the school, they'll wear a mask. We're not going to punish them, but if they persist in not wearing a mask, and I'm assuming that might be through the direction of the parents, then we'll schedule a meeting with the student and the parents, and we'll determine what needs to happen.
Any concerns about wearing masks and anxiety or depression, any type of mental or other health challenges that come from that for the kids?
Well, there's always going to be exceptions, right? Some students have health plans, and we follow those health plans. Those students have asthma. Students have certain other issues that are pre-existing. Some of our autistic kids. So, we'll address those based on what the parent gives us or what maybe is stated in their IEP. It's just not going to be a blanket, my child can't wear a mask. There's going to have to be something that we're given that documents that the child, we need to have exceptions for the child.
And finally, a quick response if possible. The money that the governor has just approved, how will that help you in Baldwin County?
Well, I'm sure everybody is excited about that. That's going to continue to help us with resources for the personal protection equipment that we are constantly needing, because we're providing as much or more than we can for teachers, and we'll be saying more about that in the near future, and for classrooms in our schools. So we're excited about that extra money.
Will that also go to help towards the health area where you're talking about nurses as well as other equipment needed?
Absolutely. We don't get funded for maybe less than 20 nurses in Baldwin County from the state. We have an RN in every one of our schools, and some are two. So we're way over the line as far as what our board puts a priority on with nurses, and we'll continue to support our nurses.
Superintendent Eddie Tyler, Baldwin County Schools, we thank you very much for joining us this morning. And of course, we'll be keeping in touch on this as we are constantly monitoring what's going on in the community in Baldwin County. We thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric, for having me.
And by the way, we recorded that interview with Superintendent Tyler on the 21st of July. So if you're in Baldwin County, you may want to check to make sure there have been no changes that might affect you and your child. When Perspectives continues this morning, Saraland City Schools Superintendent Dr. Aaron Milner joins the discussion. We'll be right back after this break. Joining us now, Dr. Aaron Milner, Superintendent of Schools of Saraland City Schools. We thank you for being a part of the discussion this morning.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you having us.
We're talking, of course, about the reopening of schools. When you look at what's going on in the state of Alabama, and of course here in southwest Alabama as well with our counties and sort of a spiking of the numbers, how do you feel right now as you prepare to reopen the schools?
We're cautiously optimistic that in Saraland we're going to be able to start school, use preventative measures, do our very best to keep students in school in a safe manner, including our teachers, to maintain school in a safe manner. So we feel at this time we're comfortable with our plan. We've worked extremely hard. I can't say enough about the job done by our administrators and our faculty and what they've done to get ready for this unprecedented school year. But we feel good about it right now. But we're not ruling out the possibility that we may have to deal with issues as we proceed into the school year.
Give us an idea of the two programs that you will be offering to your students and parents and how those work.
Well, obviously, at first we're coming in face to face, and right now that's running between 88 and 90% of our students are wanting to come face-to-face. That number could increase or decrease. In our face-to-face model, we suspect students will come home the first day and tell mom and dad that was a bit different than last school year before we released. Hallways will be highly controlled. We'll be dismissing classes, for example, at our secondary level, maybe in minimal classes at the time, making sure we don't have overcrowded hallways, making sure that students are on one side of the hall and that are decently separated. Desks will be spread out as much as possible within the classroom. We will obviously comply with Governor Ivey's order, and masks will be worn. We expect that order to be extended. So that will take place. Lunches will be served in the classrooms and around campus. They'll go through the lunch line but take their lunch back to their classroom or other designated areas around campus. We're going to be more strict in our procedures due to COVID-19. However, we're exploring ways to make school fun and engaging and not redundant day after day due to our procedures related to COVID-19. On the online side, every student will be assigned a Schoology account. And I want to be clear that every student in our school system will have a Schoology account, which is a learning management system, just as, for example, the University of South Alabama uses Blackboard or Sakai for their learning management system. Some colleges use Canvas. So we will use Schoology. And our students will utilize that in order to log in, see their classes online, be able to complete assignments, tests, evaluations online, and submit those to a Saraland City Schools teacher. Our high school students that start online will utilize the state virtual program, which is Access. In the event of a shutdown, those students would switch over to their Schoology account. I can't say enough about what our teachers have done voluntarily over the past month. They have come in on their own for training in Schoology, for training in what's called Schools PLP, those other resources that will be uploaded into the learning management system to ensure that we're providing solid instruction to all of our students, be it online or be it in a face-to-face manner. I want to be clear, however, there's no substitute for face-to-face learning, a teacher standing in front of a group of students, getting that interaction with those students, and we've learned that due to COVID-19.
As you look at it, Dr. Milner, does the size of the school system make it a little more manageable with these changes that we're having to do because of the coronavirus?
I feel the size of the school system absolutely makes a difference. We're 4 schools, about 3,200 students, about 330 employees. The issues we face in our system, we may face some that are more challenging than a large system, but to take on the multiple issues that face a large school district, it's definitely, I would argue, a more manageable task at a smaller school district.
Considering what's going on right now as we are talking today in July with the numbers spiking in Mobile County, do you have the flexibility in the 2 offerings that you can make the necessary adjustment due to what's going on and if it gets worse?
Absolutely. If students sign up for online, we've told them they have to stay in that platform for at least 9 weeks in our kindergarten through 8th grade level. 9 through 12th, they have to stay in for a semester. However, if a parent does not reaches a point that they're just not comfortable, I answered a couple of emails about this last night, but if they get to a point that they're not comfortable with the levels of COVID-19 cases within Saraland, just overall, they can switch their child to the online component. We hope overall, our parents have been absolutely amazing. I can't say enough of how supportive they've been. Just calls, emails to myself, to our administrators, thanking us for the efforts we've taken in this event. There's no playbook for taking on COVID-19, and so they've been very appreciative. But yes, they'll be able to make that decision, have the freedom to make that decision as we move forward.
As you look at the date now, do you feel that you'll still be able to lock into the scheduled start date, or you're preparing to be flexible in the event you have to push it back?
As of today, yes, we feel confident that we'll be able to start, but there's a huge asterisk there, and there's been a huge asterisk since March, because our state and federal leaders implied to us that this would clear over the summer, and regrettably it has not. So we're going to be analyzing data constantly, and looking through what are the best practices for our students. We're going to clean, sanitize constantly, and do that repeatedly throughout the school year for as long as this pandemic is in motion. However, if it gets to an unsafe level, and we've been directed by the Mobile County Health Department, Alabama Department of Public Health, or our state leaders, we will move toward an online platform.
All right. Dr. Aaron Milner, Superintendent of the Saraland City Schools, we thank you so much for being a part of our discussion today.
Thank you for always being a great partner to our school system, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, we did record that interview with Dr. Milner on the 21st of July, so definitely check in with the system there in Saraland if you are a parent or student there to make sure things are still on track. Perspectives continue. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey has extended Alabama's Safer at Home order through August the 31st. Now, that includes a state mandate requiring people in public, including students, to wear face coverings. The Alabama Department of Public Health and the Alabama Department of Education now working on a toolkit to give to school systems and districts this coming week. Now, next week on Perspectives, we talk to the superintendent of Gulf Shores City Schools, Dr. Matt Aiken, and Gwen Bird, the superintendent of Catholic Schools. Both tell us that their school principals and staffs have gone to great lengths to adhere to the CDC guidelines on physical distancing and disinfecting student areas to make things as safe as possible. Remember now, Fox 10 News is your back-to-school authority. For a breakdown of all of the school start dates, opening plans, and more, just head to our website at fox10tv.com. Click on the Back-to-School Authority tab on our homepage. Please join us here next Saturday morning at 9 for Perspectives as we discuss important issues and seek solutions. If you have any ideas of topics you'd like for us to address, just drop it to us here at Perspectives at fox10tv.com. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week.